अस्सलाम वालेकुम प्यारे बच्चों, आज के दिन हम बात करने जा रहे हैं नील बोहर एटॉमिक मॉडल के बारे में। नील बोहर एटॉमिक मॉडल देखना यह है कि नील बोहर ने यह मॉडल किस तरह से पेश किया। ठीक है, अब नील बोहर ने ये जो एटॉमिक मॉडल जो पेश किया था, नील बोहर प्रपोज दिस मॉडल अकॉर्डिंग टू ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ क्वांटम थ्योरी। ठीक है, क्वांटम थ्योरी की बेस पे ये मॉडल दिया गया था और इस थ्योरी का बेसिक पर्पस ये था। क्वांटम थ्योरी का पर्पस मैं एक्सप्लेन नहीं करूंगा, आई विल एक्सप्लेन ओनली द पर्पस ऑफ नील बोहर थ्योरी। ओके, नील बोहर एटॉमिक मॉडल का जो पर्पस था वो ये था कि हमने क्या करना है, वी हैव टू रिमूव द ड्रॉबैक्स ऑफ रदरफोर्ड एटॉमिक मॉडल्स। तो रदरफोर्ड एटॉमिक मॉडल्स के ड्रॉबैक्स को रिमूव करना था। अब रदरफोर्ड के जो एटॉमिक मॉडल है उसमें कौन से ड्रॉबैक्स थे, पहले हम उनको स्टडी कर लेते हैं। ठीक है, वी शुड मूव टुवर्ड्स रदरफोर्ड एटॉमिक मॉडल ड्रॉबैक बिफोर स्टडीइंग नील बोहर एटॉमिक मॉडल। So first of all, Rutherford says that an electron revolves around the nucleus. An atom revolves around the nucleus. Imagine this, my hand is nucleus and this is an electron and it is revolving around the nucleus. So if electrons revolve around the nucleus, the classical physics predict that when an electron revolves around the nucleus, it will attract it towards the nucleus and spirally go inward to the nucleus and will fall down into the nucleus. So it will spirally inward and then fall down into the nucleus, and in the fraction of a second, only in 16 picoseconds, the nucleus, the atom itself will be destroyed. And during this process, the huge amount of energy will be released, and this energy that is released in will be continuous form. So there are two points that Niels Bohr stated, Rutherford stated. One drawback was that the one was unstable atom or unstable electrons orbit. So and the second one is spectrum. So according to Niels Bohr, spectrum should be continuous. Spectrum should be, so according to Rutherford, the dynamic spectrum should be continuous, but in real life the spectrum is not continuous, it is line spectrum. It is line spectrum. Okay, in real life we have see that everything has specific colors. Okay, if you study a sodium lamp are street lights. Okay, street lights, they have yellow colors. So why they have yellow colors? Because their spectrum is line spectrum. Okay, they emit a particular kind of wavelengths. Okay, so these are line spectrum. So how Niels Bohr attempt that he could make a atomic model that describes all these things. So he gives some assumptions. Okay, assumptions, what do you mean by assumptions? Do you know what are assumptions?
Sir, assumption is idea. Yeah.
Beliefs. It's a kind of beliefs. Okay?
Okay.
So there are some beliefs that you believe that it might be like this. Okay, so therefore after that you can do something.
Yes.
Okay, so you have to first assume something and then draw conclusions from that.
Yes, sir.
मान लो कैसा हो गया है and then you are just going to draw conclusion. मान लो ऐसा हुआ होगा, फिर ऐसा होगा, फिर ऐसा होगा, and then you draw conclusions from that first our assumption. Okay, so Niels Bohr assumed something, Niels Bohr postulated something. So these were postulates were number one was electrons revolve in a orbit with a fixed energy and fixed radius, with a fixed energy and fixed radius. Number two, So you know what electron revolve around the nucleus in a fixed circular path, that is called orbit or energy level.
Yes.
So he called these things are energy level. He called these orbits are energy level. According to him, these electrons, these orbits have such kind of energy. Okay, these orbits have energy. These orbits have energy, and each orbit has fixed energy. Okay, so and another question arises that if these orbits have energy, so all orbits have same energy or different energy. So Niels Bohr postulated the other point that all these orbitals or all these orbits have different energies. Different energies तमाम ऑर्बिट्स की होती हैं, and all these different energies atom orbit have different energies, and their energies and the value of energy, value or magnitude of energy depend upon the radius, depend upon the distance of radius, distance of orbit from nucleus. So he postulated that if you increase the radius, the energy will be increased. Okay, so if you have there's one proton, and that is your first orbit K, and that is your second orbit L. So this value is n equals to 2, and it has a value of n equals to 1. So the first orbit, this is n equals to 1, this is n equals to 2. So you can assume that this orbit has less energy.
Yes, sir.
And this orbit has greater energy because
it has less distance.
that has less distance than this one. This one. There has less distance to from the nucleus than this one, and then the L orbit.
Yes, sir.
So greater you move from the nucleus, you move from away from the nucleus, you have larger the energy of that orbit. Okay, so he lower energy, as well as there are also the orbits that have higher energy. So the third postulate, Niels Bohr postulated that in that orbit with electron does not radiate mean emits. Okay, radiate or absorb energy.
Sir, emits mean?
Emits खारिज करना. Till absorb energy till it remains in one orbit. So as long as it remain in one orbit, one particular orbit. So if an electron is revolving around the nucleus in the fixed orbit, so it will not radiate any energy, it will not absorb any energy until it moves to the other orbit. So electron only emit or absorb radiation when it moves, when it jumps from one orbit to another. So it only emits energy, it only emits or absorb energy when it moves from when it moves to another orbit, another energy level. So these are three postulates. Clear?
Yes.
Do you have any questions?
No, sir.
Any confusion?
No, sir.
Okay. His fourth number 4, atom gain energy, electron gain energy, gain energy when it jumps from
When it jumps from
higher to lower orbit. Sorry, lower to higher orbit. Lower to higher orbit. So when it jumps from n equals to 1 to n equals to 3, 4, 5. Okay. So higher energy. So if you have, imagine that this is an electron and that is in the one orbit,
Yes, sir.
n1 orbit. So if you move this electron to the other orbit, you should have to pay energy. You should give it energy.
And it will-
So this electron will absorb energy from your hand.
and
Imagine that, and it will move to the other orbit. And if it will drop down, it will
drop.
emit radiation. It will emit that energy. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So, number 4, it will emit radiations as it jump from higher to lower orbit. Higher to lower orbit. So I think this must be clear.
Yes. Excuse me, sir.
Okay. So if you have this electron and you move this electron from the lower energy level to the higher energy level, you should have to pay energy.
Yes,
So
sir.
electron will gain energy when it jumps from lower orbit to higher orbit, and it will radiate energy when it jumps from higher to lower orbit. So this was postulated by Niels Bohr, and there is another very beautiful equation. He stated that delta E equals to E2 minus E1. So this is the amount of energy that electron emit or absorb. Emit or absorb, and it is the difference between these two orbits. Okay, this is the orbit 1 and that is the orbit 2. Okay,
Yes.
so what is the difference between these two orbits? Energy difference between these two orbits is here.
Minus even.
Actually, it is the energy that is emitted or absorbed.
Absorbed.
Okay, so here is another point. MVR equals to NH by 2 pi. MVR equals to NH by 2 is called Planck's constant. Planck's constant. So H is Planck's constant. You can see the value in your textbooks. Okay, I think 6.625 into 10 raised to power 34 joule second is the value of H. So if you put the value of H here and we divide it with the 2 pi, okay, and one should be equal to this value. Okay,
Yes, sir.
you know what, if you have value for you, if you have a constant that is called h by 2 pi, h by 2 pi, you can call this value is as h by 2 pi, you can call this value as constant L. For example, you call this constant L, and you have value of angular momentum equals to 1L or 2L or 3L. Okay,
Yes.
the angular momentum cannot be between these two values. Okay, कभी मार्केट जाते हो अंडा खरीदते हो तो अंडा आधा तो नहीं मिलता ना. So it is the very basic concept about quantum mechanics, quantum theory, that tells us that the angular momentum should be quantized. Okay, clear?
Yes, sir.
I hope you really understand it. Part. Give these postulate about his atomic model, and this atomic model successfully explain the spectrum of hydrogen atom. Spectrum of hydrogen atom. It explains why hydrogen emits such lines. Okay, why hydrogen emits radiation, why hydrogen absorbs radiations. Okay, I think if you have any confusions,
No, sir.
anyone?
No, sir.
Thank you so much.